Guys, welcome to my second live. I'm going to be doing a little drawing topic here about grounding your subject, just a couple of really easy things that you can do to help ground your subjects when you're painting and drawing more specifically. So get my drawing pad out. I'm going to go for a nice charcoal pencil because it'll stand out more, which means that you guys can be able to see it more. I've got my putty rubber, and I've got my really nice art graph sort of chalk block as well, if I want to use that. But before I get on with the tips, I've got two main tips to give you today. I need to do my base drawing to demonstrate what it is I'm going to talk to you about. So I'm going live now, just so you can see the drawing as I make it. And then after I've done the drawing, I'll go on to the tips about how to ground your subject. So nothing spectacular going on at the minute. I'm just doing a little sketch of this nice plant. If you're watching this on playback, then feel free to follow me and draw a picture of your own houseplant. And then when we get to the tips section, you can apply them to your own drawing. So welcome anyone who might be joining us. I'm just doing a quick live session where I'm drawing a houseplant. And once I've done my houseplant drawing, I'm going to move over and talk about some tips that you can apply to your drawing to make them more effective and to ground them. But for now, I'm doing a quick pencil sketch. And I've gone live, so you can join me if you want. And when I've finished, I'm going to move on to the tips section. I don't know about you guys, but I just love drawing houseplants. They seem so simple at first, don't they? But they're so complicated, all really intricate leaves intersecting with each other. Let's get some of those really nice darks in there. That's what these charcoal pencils are so good for. You get really strong, immediate darks. Great for blending. Just got one of my charcoal sticks here to bulk out a bit of area, add some general texture and tone. Okay, so I've done my base drawing here. There's the plant, and here's the drawing. How long has that taken me? About just under 10 minutes, I think, maybe. So it's a quick sketch, and I want to move on now to just give you a couple of tips to really help improve your drawing quite easily. So this is, like I said, it's just a quick sketch. There's two things that we can do really easily to improve this drawing. The first one is to add shading. Now, I know that sounds really simple, but and you might say that I've already got shading in here, and that's true. I've got shading around here where I was drawing in the soil, and I've got a bit of shading under here, under the rim of the pot. But there's some more elements of shading that we can add in to really make this object grounded. At the minute, it's just sort of floating in space. It's surrounded by white. And I think sometimes we forget to literally put a bit of a shadow on the base. And that's a really quick way of making it look like it's actually somewhere. It's sat on a table. So it's really simple, and charcoal's actually a really nice way of doing it. But obviously you can do it in paint or pastel or watercolors, whatever you're using. And I do use a bit of artistic license as well, because if you look at the plant pot, there's not a massive amount of shading. I've got fairly uniform lighting here in the studio, so I'm going to have to use my artistic license a little bit and then really enhance any of the shadows that I see. So I'm just going to put a really thick level of charcoal underneath, and I'm going to imagine that my main light source is coming from over here, coming from like that direction, which means the shadows are going to be on this side mainly. So I'm going to take it around the edge of the pot, just extend it out a little bit. So I'm imagining that that's the shadow for my pot, and already it really feels so much more grounded. It's got a much more realistic effect just from putting that little shadow in. But I can enhance that even further by adding a bit of shadow for the leaves. So the leaves are hanging out over here a little bit, so I'm just going to sort of much more lighter, just add in a bit of shadow here under the leaves. And there's some leaves here, and as we said, the light is coming from there, so we could get a bit of shading here on the ground underneath where the leaves are. Blend that in so it's really faint. Obviously I'm using charcoal here, but you use your technique depending on the medium that you're using. And I'll just soften the edge of this main shadow a little bit. Maybe wiped away a bit too much there. And I think just looking at it, I need a bit more on the front. Okay. So that's the first tip to improving your drawings really quickly. And it's something that a lot of artists forget about. They forget to put like a bit of base ground shading in there. Really simple way of making your drawing a bit more effective, making it look a bit more realistic, stopping it from just floating around in mid-space. It looks like it's got weight, it looks like it's sat somewhere. Oops. Just make a few little adjustments there. Okay, so that's the first tip. Second tip to grounding your topic is by putting in some really light background details. So I've done the shading, like I say, but to ground it further, I'm going to put in some background details. So I'm going to put in a little bit of what I can see around the plant. So I can see the edge of the table there at the back. I've also got some objects here. I've got my pencil wrap. I could sort of use a bit of artistic license and move that a bit closer, or maybe put that in the background or the foreground. But first of all, let's just put that background line in where I can see the end of my table. From my perspective, it's intersecting just through the top leaves. so about there. So I'm going to put a nice line going behind my drawing all the way across. When I'm happy with that, I'm just going to strengthen it a little bit. That's the edge of my table in the background. Okay, so immediately that's given it a bit more sense of perspective, like it's in more of a space. I can actually see two lines which make up the edge of my table, so I'm going to put in that second line like there. I've also got a picture on the wall. You can't quite see that, but if I scan up, you can see I've got a picture on there. So I'm going to put in the bottom edge of that picture just as I see it. And that goes all the way across, out of view. So that's my picture on the wall, and then of course my picture has shading. So I'm going to put that in. Strengthen that bottom line again. That's like a bit of a bottom of the picture frame on the wall there. What other details can I see? I've got my cutting board, which the plant pot is sat on. From my perspective, it's coming out just here. And there's this really nice leading line, which is at that sort of angle. Take that across. I don't want to go too heavy with the detail. Now, obviously, there's loads of lines on this cutting board, but I'm just going to give a bit of an indication of the detail. I'm not going to put too much in because then it becomes too overwhelming and it would take up tension from the plant itself. So just some rough indications of lines which I can see. Okay, and then what else can I see? Well, I've got my rubber there, haven't I? Let's draw my rubber. So I could be really meta about this and put my drawing paper in with the picture of the plant on, but let's just stick with the rubber. And then, of course, my rubber has a shadow as well. A putty rubber is very difficult to draw. Okay, so if I take a break there, I've taken my original drawing of a plant, which I know is just a quick sketch, a sort of 5-10 minute sketch, and I've applied 2 strategies to it in order to ground it. One of those is adding some shading, which I did around the plant pot, and also some idea of shading for the leaves on the top. That is in addition to the shading which was on the plant pot itself. And the second tip to grounding a topic is to add some environmental details. So that only took me a couple of minutes really. Let's move it out of the way so you can see. I added in the cutting board that the plant pot was sat on. I added in the edge of the table. I added a picture in the top right corner. and just for a little bit of detail I added a little bit of a putty rubber. You could add as little or as much detail as you want, but effectively if you want to improve the grounding of your drawings, if you want to make them feel like they are an object that's actually there, they've got physical weight to them, rather than looking like they're just floating around in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes drawings can look a bit flat. Adding these two tips will really help give it that solidity, that 3D dimension. And that's just to add a bit of shading around the bottom, environmental shading, and also to add some background details like I have there. So try that out next time you do a quick drawing, a bit of a quick sketch, and maybe you feel like it needs something. Try adding these two elements, a bit of shading and a bit of environmental details. It's particularly good for life drawing, and I'm hoping to do some life drawing soon. But for the minute, just with this object drawing, I hope that's fairly clear. Right, so I'll leave it there for today. Just a quick live, bit of an art school tip for you. I'm going to save these little videos to my website. So if you'd like to have access to my old ones, then drop me a message. I'll give you the link to where it is on my website. Otherwise, I'll see you again soon. Bye.